Hello, my name is Leonardo Sierra. I'm going. This task is about the IELTS. What is an international English exam? And this is for the course English exams in the UNAT. Wow. I'm going to answer some questions about this exam. The first question is, what is the purpose of the exam? This exam will determine the level or ability of the candidate in English, mainly for skills, listening, reading, speaking and writing. Each section or skill has part of sections that will divide it and will make somehow easy to rate at the end. For example, listening has 4 sections, reading has 3 sections. In any of the 2 versions of the exam, writing has 2 tasks, and speaking will have 3 parts. There are 2 types of versions of this exam. The versions are the general training, that is the most common for people, for tourists mainly, and academic module, that is most for studying purposes. What kind of people can take this exam? Well, I think that, as I mentioned just some seconds, because there are two types of this exam. The general training is more for people who is going to make some studies in secondary school or want to travel to any country that has English as a first language. On the other hand, the academic version will be more suitable to those that want to get enrolled in a university, to do an undergraduate program or a PhD program. This situation happens because the reading and writing modules of the general training are not designed to test the full range of language skills required for the academic purposes, but as I mentioned before, in reading and writing modules. The main goal of this exam is to give to its candidates the chance of access to a higher standard or level of English. And this is valid in a greater number in universities around the world, but mainly in English-speaking countries, as I mentioned before: Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the UK, and more recently the USA. It is well known that for the USA is more for, and they apply more the TOEFL. What are the most significant characteristics of the exam? In this exam is tested the main 4 skills in English instead of 2 or 1. As I mentioned before, writing and reading are presented in 2 formats: academic module or general training module. The academic module is to be taken by students planning to pursue higher education. General training, as I mentioned before, is taken by students planning to complete secondary school or immigrate to Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. The listening and speaking is the same for all the candidates, or for the two for the 2 formats or versions. Another characteristic is that, as I remember when I presented the dials, the speaking is done in a different day. Could be 2 or 1 days before the exam, or 2 or 1 days after the exam. In my case, I did it on a Friday, and the exam where I presented the listening, reading, and writing skills, it was on Saturday. The bundle scores and is stand like this. For all the questions, that's why I put the number of 40 and 11 or 20 in the bottom. It's that is because all the sections has 40 questions, mainly in listening, reading, and listening, reading. It has 40 questions. Writing is a kind of essay. You have to write an essay, or you have to describe some situations, for example, diagrams, graphics, images. And in speaking, they qualify another situation that, for example, is fluency, um, coherence, and other kind of aspects. For that reason, and because the IELTS is graded in band, the maximum band is 9 and the minimum is 1. I will explain later on what it's about. For example, if someone gets 30 to 31 questions correct, that person will get a 7 band. However, or in addition to this situation, the band at the end goes for each skill they present a final grade. It will show what is the, for example, they get in writing 6, in reading 6, and listening 5.5 or something like that, and they will get an average of all of that. For example, if someone get a 7, is a good user of English, and a 7 is in fact is a good result. 5, 4 is not a good user of the language. The next question is, what skills are related to the exam? I have been talking about during this video. They evaluate speaking, reading, writing, and listening. So that's the main skills that are evaluated in this situation. The sixth question is, give a clear and wide explanation about the type of questions the exam has and what the score is due. What scores you can get, the lowest score and the highest score I have mentioned before, and giving up an explanation about the possible results. So, well, the questions, multi-choice question, there's a particular question that you have to answer true, false, or not given. It can apply to listening, reading, and you have only 40 minutes, 40, 40 to 60 minutes, depending on the section. It could be reading, listening, or writing. And it's advisable to take notes and to when you are listening to the listening section, you have to be aware of the answers, and that it will be easy to answer your exam. At the end of the listening question, and the examiner, or the person who is monitoring this section, because it is in a classroom with many people, and you will have 10 minutes to transfer the question that you get from the listening part and put it in the answer sheet. So it's advisable to be aware of that situation, and it's not a difficult exam, but you have to be aware of the time and how you use the time in the exam. The reading is 3 reading parts, is looking for headlines, for main ideas, questions about the articles or whatever it is. And in the writing section, as I mentioned before, in my case I did the academy module. I have to do 2 essays they give you an extension. It could be 250 words. Is is penalized if you got, for example, 240 or you go 260. It would be penalized. You have to have exactly the same number as they give you. If they say 250 words, it has to be 250 words. It cannot be less, it cannot be more. And the other essay, it was a little bit longer, but I have to describe graphic. In the other one, I have to describe a situation. It's advisable to know what is the structure of a essay, or it has to have an introduction, two paragraphs, and a conclusion. That is because it is too short in that case. And I think that is all what I have to say about the IELTS. It will take more or less 2 hours and 10 minutes, including the speaking part. Well, in the speaking part, it is in a different day. It has 3 sections. The first section will be an interview. For example, the examiner will tell you what to do in the other sections. And in the first section will be asking for you the what's your name, where do you live, what do you study, what your family does, all of the situations. The second section is more about to answer a topic, and the examiner will give you a card, and in that card you will say this is your topic. For example, it is a trip, so then we have you, and the card will say you have to say where it was, that where did you go, who you go with, and what did you do in that trip. For example, you have to develop that kind of information. And in the third section of the speaking part will be the examiner will ask you some questions more structured. You have to be aware that you have to give more complex answers. You have to use a wide range of vocabulary to develop this kind of this section. So that's all I have to say about the IELTS. Thanks for paying attention. Bye.